They are on a considered effort to, take apart the federal government, the federal infrastructure, bit by bit, in big sweeping ways and in small unseen ways, like in an effort that we have never seen before. And they want to rebuild it in a much smaller, leaner, less regulatory, less expensive way. And they, at the moment, meaning they, Trump and his advisors, are really determined to do that. On the other hand, this could just be a lot of theater leading up to the debt ceiling. In other words, the wing of the House that wants to make sure we keep federal government spending lower, wants to cut $2.5 trillion from the budget. Look at the number that was frozen, $3 trillion. Looks a lot like the $2.5 trillion that they were pushing. This could be the beginning of the bargaining politics between President Trump and the very right wing of his party in the House.
But Wendy, in the 7th and coming 8th edition of the Contemporary Congress, one of your classic books, we've never been here before. Is it whatever anybody's politics, is it the judiciary to the rescue for pro-Trump or anti-Trump?
Well, the irony here is that the Supreme Court made two different decisions about the extent of bureaucratic power, the discretion of agencies to interpret congressional law, and that they wanted to grab more power back for the courts to really figure out what Congress intended and what the executive is doing. And now they have their wish. Now the courts will have to interpret all of this in the context of separation of powers. I wouldn't think to the rescue. I mean, government has to get more efficient. I think that's where Trump understands where the American people are. They may not understand everything they get from the federal government, but they don't think it works very well. And so it's a prime opportunity for the coincidence of the executive power being larger than ever before in American history, and the opportunity to really cut back on what the federal government does, because public opinion seems to be moving in that direction.
Wendy, there's a lot of noise coming out of there emanating from Washington, whether it's spending freezes or not spending freezes, and what did the administration mean or not mean, buyouts of people that don't want to come back to work. What do you think people really should be focusing on? What's the important stuff coming up?
The impact. In other words, what is actually theater and what is actually happening. You'll notice that yesterday the administration backtracked a little bit on what it was including in the freeze, including what we used to call food stamps or SNAP, which you have to refill. It's all automatic debit cards on, Saturday. If you freeze government spending and don't refill it, people don't get to eat. So, I mean, these are things that have real impact on real people's lives. We haven't seen it yet. And so that's why the Democrats are getting hit for not screaming and jumping up and down. But you can't persuade the public that there is danger if no impact is felt. So I want to look at what's actually going to stop and what's actually going to affect individual lives, because that's what will move the ground underneath the feet of Republicans in Congress, not just Democrats. And they're going to have to reassert the power of Congress. And that's been eroding for more than 20 years. That's going to be a big lift.